Whatever you're saying, Barb, I'm doing.
Chance, Barb.
And you can just
Sit right
sit
here.
there.
This chair?
No, not like that.
The only time you'll be able to do that.
I know it. Oh, I gotta have fun with it. So, now for the questions. And again, we have 90 seconds or less. You can take less time. Number one question. Will you pledge to fully repeal Obamacare?
Yes. I voted against it. When I first got there is when Obamacare came up. We spent 23 straight days in the United States Senate fighting against Obamacare. And I believe with your help, that's what led to what we were able to accomplish in 2010 because the people woke up. 23 straight days in a row was the longest continuous session of the U.S. Senate since the Senate decided whether or not to go to war during World War I. And shortly thereafter, Scott Brown was elected in Massachusetts, which gives me hope for my county of Broward, that we can elect a Republican anywhere. So yes, I will vote to repeal it. It is killing jobs. It's killing jobs in Florida. Businesses feel like they don't know what the landscape is. They have too much uncertainty, too many mandates, too many taxes, too many regulations. Why is this economy not recovering? In part because of Obamacare, Dodd-Frank, EPA regulations, too much legislation, too many taxes. We've got to repeal them. Businesses got to feel free that they can hire again.
We're in a war on terror. Who are we fighting?
We're fighting radical Islamist militants and extremists, people who don't believe in the right for you to pick those who govern you, the people who don't believe in religious freedom, people who believe that our way of life is antithetical to Sharia law and their fundamentalist beliefs. We are a tolerant people. We always have been. We've always believed, as part of our Constitution and the First Amendment, that everybody has the right to worship the way they want to or not. But we will not stand by and let people, based upon their radical views, do violence to this country. And our wars have been just, our wars have been long, and our wars need to end. But I am a supporter of our military. I was on the Armed Services Committee. I believe our wars have been just, but I also know that we have paid a terrible price in loss of human life and injury to our soldiers, and that we are finishing up Iraq, and that is good. We need to finish up Afghanistan, and we need to bring our troops home.
We do need health care reform. What is your plan?
Well, we do. We have 4 million people in this state that are uninsured. Obamacare is wrong for a number of reasons. It's wrong because we can't afford it. It sets up a new entitlement program when we can't afford the programs we have. It takes $500 billion out of Medicare, health care for seniors. Medicare in and of itself in 12 years will be unable to meet its obligations to pay for health care for seniors now. And we created a new program by stealing money out of future payments for Medicare. That's wrong. Plus it taxes medicine and it taxes medical devices, which increases the cost of health care for all of us. What I would do is let insurance companies compete across state lines. I'd cut out the fraud, which I was able to pass a law that's being implemented right now that's going to save us, what one group has estimated, $20 billion a year in stopping healthcare fraud in Medicare. Medicare is pay and chase. They pay and then they chase if they don't think it was accurate. We know now that we can use some things in the private sector, like what the credit card companies do, to predict fraud before it stops and not pay when they see the fraud. We're going to apply that to Medicare and save $20 billion a year. We can do common sense things and make health care more affordable in this country and maintain that relationship between you and your doctor and not put a government official in between it.
We all know the Paul Ryan plan does not affect anyone 55 years and over with regards to Medicare. Do you endorse the Paul Ryan plan, and why or why not?
I would have voted for it. It came up in the Senate a month ago, and the reason why I would have voted for it is because the alternative is let Medicare fail. The Democrats want to let Medicare fail by doing nothing. They won't address this time bomb of a problem. They are politically afraid to address it. So if the choice is doing something or doing nothing, I vote for doing something. Now, I think my plan's better. As I mentioned, I think it gets us to balance faster. And I think the way to tackle Medicare and Medicaid is to make sure that it's around for people now by having folks that are younger, under the age of 55, much like Marco Rubio has proposed for Social Security. We're going to have to work longer. You know, when Social Security was created, the life expectancy was 65. You started getting benefits at 65. It was actuarially sound then. It's not now. So for those of us under 55, we're going to have to work longer, and for those of us under 55, we're going to have to means test it. And what that means is if you're making good money when you are in retirement, you're not going to get as much of it, or you might not get any of it. But that's because we have to preserve the social safety network for everybody else and make sure seniors now get exactly what they were promised.
What do you think is the biggest problem with our economy, and what actions would you propose?
The number one problem is job-killing legislation, regulation, and taxes out of Washington, D.C. I talk to businesses every day, small, medium, and large, who will not hire people because they are just too uncertain about the landscape from Washington. And by the way, they're worried about the debt. They know what's coming. I had 2 presidents of international engineering firms in Florida tell me that their Fortune 500 clients are building facilities overseas because they are worried about the meltdown of the federal government from the debt and deficit. That means today we are losing American jobs because of concern about the debt and deficit. So I believe that job-killing regulations, taxes, and mandates like in Obamacare and others are the number one thing we need to do to repeal them to make sure that we can get Americans back to work.
Will you sign a pledge that you will not support any form of fixed rail public transportation?
Let me tell you where I am on rail. Like the other candidates for this position that you'll hear from today, I supported high-speed rail. Now I know that that's maybe not the view you want to hear. I voted to repeal all unspent stimulus money in the United States Senate because we can't afford it. So I would have preferred all that money to go back and not be spent on rail or anything else. But the money before I got there was already allocated. And it was allocated to go to different states. And in that situation, I would rather have the money be spent in Florida than California. Now, I wouldn't have been for the rail program if the study came back here in Florida and it was something that the state of Florida would have been on the hook for and would have cost too much. But if a private company would have come in and taken up the state share and the state would have been held harmless, I would have supported it because I'd rather have the money spent here. You need to know this. The money is not going back to repeal the debt. The money is going to other states. That's the fact. I'd like it to repeal the debt. Marco Rubio's got a proposal called the Repeal Act that would say anytime a state failed or anytime a state rejected federal money, the money would go down to pay the debt. I'd support that. But that's not the reality. And my position has been consistent on this. Some of the other folks running for this position are now against it because they know that's what you want to hear.
What are we going to do to eliminate our dependence on foreign oil?
We've got to drill for oil in this country in places like Alaska and in the Gulf of Mexico and other places. We've got to do it safe and smart and not put it right off the beach in St. Pete so that you see an oil derrick. But we need to have more drilling in this country. We have a tremendous new find of natural gas in this country, tremendous. And the ability to extract that natural gas at a very cheap price could change America. The federal government needs to get out of the way and allow for that. We need to build more nuclear plants. They are huge generators of baseload electricity once they're built. I support, we should be building 50 or 100 of them. We invented this technology and Jimmy Carter killed it for this country. We have 103 nuclear power plants. We haven't had a new one since the 80s. So we got to make that more streamlined and get the government in a way so that they're approved in an expeditious basis. They don't cost too much to build. I'm for renewables too, but that is not going to be enough to get us where we need to be. I like all of our long-haul trucks on natural gas. That's the T. Boone Pickett's plan. That would save us 40% of the foreign oil that we import. 40% just by doing that. We are sending hundreds of billions of dollars a year overseas to people who hate us. Venezuela, Middle East. We got to stop it. We got to bring those jobs back here.